The Journey, a changing Southampton. This project is supported by Heritage Lottery Fund and initiated by Unity 101 community radio station, Southampton. As I've said, the project was made possible by money raised by national lottery players, and the project will enable all residents of the city to understand the journey from arrival to citizenship. This wonderful city has been a changing place long before the Mayflower sailed. It has welcomed and absorbed new people and families, changing its DNA in the process, becoming an international city, a fusion of faiths, cultures and businesses that overlap in our everyday experience. Let us say it's important to realise what we mean by the journey. The journey is, if we take one example, a family from Uganda, a family of Indian descent, who arrived in Uganda as indentured labour to build the Kenya-Uganda Railway. From there, they become business people, etc., in Uganda. Then in 1972, under the leadership of Idi Amin, they are forced out of Uganda, but they are British citizens, so they come to the UK and they arrive in Southampton. And from 1972, their family continues. Their children and grandchildren go to school. Some of their children, and maybe even they, start businesses, go to university, etc. They become a fundamental part of the city in which we live. Their journey is what we want to share with the city. Now, this will culminate in an exhibition in Sea City Museum, a new archive collection in the city archives. The journey will create a series of radio programs and podcasts and YouTube's contributions, social media, contributors from many of the communities in the city will tell the actual story of who these people were and who they've become, record their testimonies, oral histories of those who left their home behind and became the parents and grandparents of new generations of Saints Football Club fans. And at the centre of this will be volunteers trained and given the skills to do the work necessary to deliver the project. When we developed this idea, we knew older people's migration was an unheard story locally, which is appropriate because we deal in invisible histories. There's no point in telling us us telling you what you already know, but asking you to question what you've been told is a different matter. We also knew people from the Indian subcontinent feel heritage projects do not involve them enough. Black and diverse communities lack awareness of each other's migration. The general public misunderstands migration, partly because people who are not black and diverse and who have not migrated across the world or Europe to Southampton are nervous to ask black and diverse communities about their experience. They may have been discouraged by comments made by the press and politicians. We were unaware that young people felt their story was untold and not understood. Our knowledge comes from direct conversations, radio shows, discussions with our volunteers on WhatsApp, and past and recent surveys. The first steps of the project. Well, initially we need to identify people, originally from the Indian subcontinent, that are willing to be interviewed. You may say, why the Indian subcontinent? Well, in our experience, they're the people who have not been interviewed. And because you can only do so many oral histories, there are many groups who've migrated. We would hope they all have their stories told. But in terms of oral history, we can only take on a reasonable sized project. Now, this would include Kenyan, Ugandan, South African people of Indian subcontinent descent, as well, obviously, as those who've come direct from the Indian subcontinent to Southampton. We will attract, recruit and train volunteers. Volunteers will have many roles, and the leaflet explaining that follows at the end of this slide. We will develop and share knowledge about those that have migrated to Southampton and Hampshire, and this will be available in places such as YouTube channel, Facebook, our website, on a specialist radio show on our radio station, Unity 101. When we say share knowledge, what do we mean? Well, there are big questions that are rarely discussed in the media. Why are people from the Indian subcontinent all over the former British Empire? What was the contribution of people from old India in World Wars I and II? Why was a country that used to be gold rich so poor after World War II? What is indenture? Indians may be all over the former British Empire, but why are they in the Dutch Empire, Suriname? Were there ever Indian slaves in South Africa? To achieve this, we need volunteers. So if you're listening to this or looking at the YouTube and you think, actually, maybe this is interesting, I don't have to be from that group to be involved. Well, that's true. Do you want to volunteer or tell us your story? Be part of the oral histories. Obviously, if you're in Southampton, that makes it easier. But we are creative people, and if you're interested, we'll try to find a way to make it work. Read the following leaflet. Contact details are on it. Come and join in. This story is the making of a wonderful city. And if you're listening to the podcast and you're saying, well, I can't read the following leaflet, well, there's an email address on the bottom I'll be sharing with you. And there's also our website. And there's the YouTube. The leaflet will be on all of those places and more. So, working from the leaflet, what is the journey? As I've said, it's an exciting opportunity for volunteers to help tell the story of Southampton, uncovering its history and celebrating the city's ever-changing identity. Those volunteers will be shown how to capture those oral histories and become part of a research team. We'll be recording the memories of those who've travelled to Southampton over the years from overseas. It won't be all oral histories. There will also be radio shows, and those radio shows will involve shorter interviews, shorter clips from people. At the end of it, this emotional testimony will be the central resource for radio shows, podcasts, museum exhibition, Sea City, and artistic performances by local college planned for creation during 2023 within our beautiful welcoming city of Southampton. That'll also include conference at Southampton University, plays written by students at Southampton Solent University, and radio show contributions from 5 colleges. All of the material will be given to the city archives in Southampton and become part, literally, of history available forever. So if you want to contact us, it's email thejourney@unity101.org. The project's called The Journey of Changing Southampton for obvious reasons. The change is for the better. If you walk down any street in Southampton on a Friday or a Saturday night and you want to eat, dance, or window shop, I can guarantee that those things you look at in the shop will have been affected by the culture of the people who've come to Southampton. Much of the food that you eat will be part of that culture, and certainly much of the music you listen and dance to, regardless of what age group you are. What makes this special is the nature of Southampton, which, in the main, has welcomed and embraced those people. Thanks for listening.